Good evening, everyone. Isn't it very, very disappointing that we spend 8 years, 18 years, even up to 20 something years in the four walls of the classroom? From the time that we were born and we start attending creche to nursery, that's kindergarten, to primary, to secondary, to university, and then even up to PhD, doctorate. And we are never taught the most important part of our financial lives, which is cash flow. Today, we'll be looking at understanding cash flow statements. I know that when we hear things like that, most of us hear cash flow, we hear accounting, we hear assets, liabilities, and then we are immediately put off because those sound very, very technical. So I used to be like that. So anytime I heard cash flow statement, it was such a big, big deal. And then my brain couldn't wrap itself around the concept until I began to realize that this is actually very, very simple everyday concept that many of our old grandmothers and grandfathers actually applied. It's just that it was never written down. So I'm going to break it down so simply that a 10-year-old will understand it. And I just want to remind you what we have said in the first part of the Cash Flow Secrets series. I did remind you that cash flow is to finance what the blood is to the human body. Cash flow is to your financial life what your blood is to your body. This is a very far-reaching statement. This is very, very important for you to crack because we are told that the life of the animal is in the blood. Your life is in your blood. And this is why whenever there is sickness in your body, you are sent to do blood test because what's going on in your blood will determine what's going on in your life. And again, it's the blood. As the blood circulates the body, it supplies nutrients and oxygen to all the cells of the body. So all the other parts of your body, the organs are very important. Of course, your brain is important, your liver is important, your kidneys are important, your lungs, even your heart itself, they are all important. But the moment that blood is cut off from any of those organs for some extended period of time, that organ dies. That's exactly why the root of all financial struggle that you are having right now, all of your financial struggle right now is cash flow. It's cash flow issues, cash flow problems. And because people don't understand these things, they spend all their time running after that piece of paper called money instead of fixing the cash flow problems in their lives. So you're going to see, as we talk about the cash flow statements, you're going to see why this matters and why this understanding can automatically transform your financial life from this very moment that you're looking at it. So many of you are in debt. I get messages all the time of people telling me how bad their debt is. I get messages, surprisingly, of people telling me how they want to unalive themselves because of the pressure and the tension of the debt that they owe. But all these things they are all cash flow problems, which if you understand, even your debt problem doesn't become as much a problem as it is, because you can use your understanding of cash flow to address your problem of debt, to address, in fact, any financial problem that you have right now. Cash flow is a very important subject. Now, so it's often overlooked, yet it is the most essential aspect of business finance, and also personal finance. You are going to discover that all the things that we are talking about, cash flow statements, they apply to your business. They apply to your life very, very much in the same way. And so today, we are going to identify what operate the three parts of a cash flow statement. They are just three parts. We're going to identify what these three parts are and their significance in your financial freedom. So just open your mind and open your heart. Don't be scared about all these terminologies, but they are things you really need to understand, because finance is the language of business. Type that in the comment section, everybody. Finance is the language of business. And then the second statement is that finance is the language of personal financial freedom. In other words, if you want to be financially free, you must speak the language of finance. Imagine that you drop into China today, just fly into China. You don't speak Chinese, that's your first visit there. You're totally helpless. And this is how many of us go through the world, totally helpless and flummoxed because we don't understand the language. And so you find so many of these people who are pushing get-rich-quick programs, pushing all kinds of shiny objects out there. Even people involved in real estate, there are so many real estate scams going on. It's like that's a favorite scam in this generation. And many of them do not understand the language of finance. It is not possible for you to become financially free until you understand the basic language of finance. Otherwise, you're lost. Okay, one more story before we move forward. This is someone I know very, very well. In fact, a relation. This gentleman made so much money when the naira was, when the dollar was like $1 to 80 kobo. The dollar wasn't even up to 1 naira at the time. This man started trading. They made millions of those days. You can imagine somebody having $1 million naira in the 1970s. That's like having billions today. Because if you put things in comparison with today, you could buy a brand new car in those days for 4,500 naira. Brand new car. To put things in context. But guess what? Fast forward a couple of years to today, this guy is completely broke. And the reason is he did not understand cash flow. So that's what happens to you. If you don't understand cash flow, you might make so much money. Like I heard Alibaba talking about a certain celebrity or musician who came by lots of money. The first thing he went to buy, he bought cars, expensive cars and things like that. And then Alibaba was like, this guy should have put it in property that will be funding this lifestyle. So when you are cash flow illiterate, it's going to cost you financial freedom. And I dare tell you that many of us here, including me talking, many of you here would be in a better financial position than you are today if you understood cash flow. How do I know? Because when I worked with Chevron, there was a time that the company developed an intranet app that today, I mean, you take that for granted, but in those days, these were really breakthroughs. So basically, they created a SQL query to the database, HR database of all the things that have been paid. And so you could see what you have been paid for the 5 years or 3 years or 20 years that you had been in Chevron. When I saw my own, I was shocked. And then like Nigerians will say, it's a lie, it's a lie. But then I started going line by line. I now was astounded by the amount of money that had passed through my hands. And it's like, where did this money go? It's because I was ignorant of cash flow. Don't let it happen to you. And don't let it happen to someone you know. Okay, so and I want to put this there in your face before we continue, because one of the books that helped me early in my journey to financial freedom was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then if you haven't read it, it's a book I will actually encourage you to read because he discusses this subject of cash flow in most of his books. In fact, there's one of his books. I'm not sure what the exact title is, but I think it is like Cash Flow Quadrant. So now, when I heard asset, when I heard liability in those days, they were so confusing to me. I thought they were just so technical. It's something only chartered accountants, understood. It's only the language that economists spoke. It wasn't for the ordinary man. But thanks to Robert Kiyosaki, he just broke it down. Asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, anything that refreshes your pocket, adds money to your pocket. Liability is anything that takes money from you. This is important. This is actually a very, very powerful insight, because you need to start looking at the things around you in terms of whether you are growing your asset or you're growing liability. Because when you have more debt in your life, you might call it bad debt, like a lot of people call it, but debt is actually a liability. And when you look at the things around you, you might actually think that you have asset. But if you don't understand this definition, you will not realize that the things you bought are actually a liability. Your car, you call it asset. Your car is not an asset, except it's adding money to your pocket. Otherwise, it is a liability. If you build your house and you are living in it, in a sense, it is not an asset. It's not putting money in your pocket. But in another sense, it's still an asset, because if you want to liquidate, to sell that house, it is liquid. People will buy that. But this basic definition really helps you a lot in managing cash flow. Asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. Liability is anything that takes money away from you. Why am I doing this? For those of you joining me for the first time, just almost 2 months ago, I woke up one day and challenged myself that if I had 1,000 days to live, for instance, and I am to impart the most valuable lessons I've learned to the world, what would they be? So I chose these 3 areas. Number 1, the area of attaining financial independence, especially, for many of us living in the so-called third world countries, in the Pacific, in Africa, in the Caribbean. And as a matter of fact, most people, many people in the world, everybody needs financial freedom. So even in the so-called advanced economies, each time I travel to the United States, I'm amazed at the homelessness. I'm amazed at the poverty also in that land. And then for some of you who are familiar with certain areas in California, it's just horrible. So financial freedom is a requirement. The second thing I decided I'm going to be teaching the world is how to scale your business. How do you turn a side hustle to a small business? And how do you turn a small business to a thriving global venture? And then the third thing that I decided I'm going to teach the world is to bring back the traditional family values. The world is always much better when there is a very strong family foundation. So I'm going to be talking about marriage, about parenting, about getting married, about finding the right person for you. And then we do this particularly on Sundays. Sunday evenings is for family. Okay. And so today we're looking at cash flow statement. And the first question is, what is a cash flow statement? So let me make it easy for you the way it's been made easy for me. A cash flow statement is your report card. But this time, instead of reporting your scores in mathematics, in English, in language arts, in social studies, is reporting your money. So cash flow statement is a report card for money. Please type report card for money in the comment section. Everybody, report card for money. Report card for money. Remember, I told you that the reason I always want you to type things you're hearing is because when you type these things, your nervous system registers them. And that is the first step to implementing, because it's not just hearing these things, it's actually doing them. That's where you get all the benefits. Okay, so type in the chat report card for money. That is what it is. Yes, Elianya Onwokan, report card for money. Wilson Ikwebe, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so cash flow is your report card for money. It shows you how much money comes in and how much goes out over a certain period. So you look at like 1 year, what's your cash flow statement for 2023, for 2024. So the other important thing to know about a cash flow statement, I'm going to be showing you a very, very simplified example so that you can create one for yourself. And the good news is that actually most of the banking apps that we use can do this for us. And then if you're not in the habit of looking at your bank statement, I do suggest that you do that. I do suggest that you do that. Most people, even me, sometimes the banks, at the end of every month, they send the bank statement for that month. But how many of us actually take time to look at it? So I remember a friend who decided to take a look one day, and then there were so many illegal charges and fees that the bank had taken over a couple of years, to the tune of more than 5 million or something like that. So I think he now got in touch with his lawyer and then the accountant, and they reversed it. So there are charges you will never know, because I think the banks also know that many times people don't care to look at these things. So you can be losing money just because you don't read your bank statement. You can be losing money without knowing that you're losing money, because many of us don't have time to go through our bank statements. And there's so many things that bank statements can do, for us, just looking at it. Okay, so I had a bank statement that so something happened recently. I got an unauthorized charge, and it was from my bank in the US. So I got an unauthorized charge for $99, and it was this company that I didn't realize what company that was, and they were charging my card. So I now went through my statements and discovered that these people had actually charged me, and then the address I was seeing was Hong Kong, based in Hong Kong. I couldn't figure out who these people were, because the merchant narrative was not very straightforward. When I looked at the merchant narrative, the merchant that charged my account, what appeared on my bank statement, I couldn't recognize these people. Then I now went back 2 years into my bank statement and discovered that these people had actually charged me before. They had actually charged me before, and it was a total of $200. So I said no. So I had to contact my bank, and we disputed that charge. And thankfully, my bank in the US they reversed those transactions. Now, the point I'm making is, if you never read your bank statement, I'm sure some of you have surprises, especially if your bank statement is busy. Money goes in and comes out irregularly. If you don't look at it, you might be shocked how you are losing money, and you better not lose money. It's not about the amount of money that you're losing. It is the fact that you're losing money. You're disrespecting what you have. You are a careless person, because money is like, this guy is careless. He doesn't even care, to look at what's going on. So many of the banks sent your statement yesterday. Many of them sent it yesterday. Go back if you haven't looked at it. Look at it, and then if you discover anything very interesting, come back to this comment section and then let us know. So all I'm saying is it's important for you to understand cash flow statement, the report card for money. Now, it has three parts. It's got the operating activities. This is the equivalent of your day-to-day money activities, how you earn money. So when you earn money through your daily hustle, or you sell something online, or it is salary, that is money coming in. So that is operating activity. When you also buy things, that is money going out, expenses. So that is the first part of a cash flow statement. How your daily money activities, how money comes in and how money goes out. Number two, it's got your investment activities. So this is money that you use to buy things that will help you to multiply your income in the future. For instance, you buy the shares, or you invest in property, or you buy a Toyota Corolla to use for Uber. So that will be investing activities. Then there's a third part of cash flow statement. This is your financing activities. So you can see that these things mirror business finance. It's just the same thing you have in your business. You also have it in your personal life. So I just said, let me make this non-technical. So when you borrow money or when you pay back loan, that's what is called financing activities. I saw the other day an ad from a bank because children have just gone back to school, and the bank was asking if you are struggling with paying school fees, that we have a facility to give you. So that would be like a financing activity. Or maybe you're building a house and you're part of a cooperative in your company, and you approach your cooperative to borrow some money to help in building your house. So those are the three parts of cash flow statement: operating activities, investing activities, financing activities. Now, if any of these things is missing or is flawed in your cash flow statement, then there's a problem. Okay? Now, so this is a very, very simplified cash flow statement example, and I'm using dollars because this is an international audience. Many of you come from different places. So let's just use dollar to make it easy. So now look at those three parts of cash flow statement that I've talked about. There's the operating activities, and then you have money coming in, and then that's inflow, and then you have outflow. So under your operating activities, suppose that $50 come in within the week, okay, as an allowance, for instance, and then within the week, out of the $50, you spend 20. So inflow was $50, and then outflow was $20. Then on the second line are your investing activities. So let's say that you bought a bank stock. Okay, you invested using your Bamboo app or some other stock market investing app. Then the inflow is 30, because it's money that you are using to multiply your income for the future. Okay, and then outflow for this week or for this month is $0. Then for your financing activities within the same period of time, your inflow is $10 because you borrowed it from your friend, and then you paid it back, so your outflow is $10. So at the end of it, if you actually sum it up, your inflow would now be 50 plus 30 plus 10, which is 90, and then your outflow would be 20 plus 0 plus 10. And then remember yesterday we said that we were classifying everyone on earth in two categories: those who have positive cash flow and those who have negative cash flow. So people who have positive cash flow are people who have more money coming in than going out. And then people who have negative cash flow are people who have more money going out than coming in. And I said that my objective is to get all of us to positive cash flow, where we have more money, more income coming in than what is going out. How does this cash flow statement help you, for instance? It helps you to see that you have more money, for instance, coming in than going out. So you're good, okay? And it also helps you to plan it that way. So, and I also want you to think about how this information could help you to decide what to spend your money on, or whether you need to earn more. In the course of our conversations around cash flow, we are going to be introducing another very powerful concept, which is called budgeting. It's a word that everybody knows, but very few people actually do. And when you anticipate the things, the expenses for the year, and which is called projection, and then you also anticipate the income that's coming in from for the year, you can make a very intelligent budget. Because if your expenses in the year coming, school fees, rent, and all that, if that's going to be, using the dollar example again, so for the year, if you are going to need to spend $12,000, but then your income is $6,000, then you know that you have a shortfall of $6,000. Then it can help you to say, all right, how am I going to bridge this gap? How am I going to make this money? So, but a lot of us keep too many things on our head. We keep our money in our heads. I think that is one of the most strategic errors that we make, to keep our money in our heads. We actually need to put them down in these statements and then look at them. Because when you put them in your head, it's very, very difficult to manage those numbers. But when you look at them before you, they're very helpful. Okay, so to recap what we've done today, we said that cash flow is about tracking the money that comes in and goes out. And then we've also said that a cash flow statement has three parts: the operating activities, the investing activities, and the financing activities. And then I showed you a very, very, very simplified example, so that you can be inspired to go learn more and read more about this. Understanding cash flow can help you make better decisions about your money. Understanding cash flow can save you from financial troubles, and it can guarantee you a more secure future, financial future. So I'm tasking everyone here today to spend at least 1 hour tomorrow learning more about cash flow statements and learning more about cash flow in general. And then if you do have any questions, do go ahead and type them in the comment section, and then we can take them when we do the same thing tomorrow. So this is where we are going to draw the curtain this evening. Thank you for spending the time with me. I hope this has been very, very useful in stimulating your thinking about your financial freedom. So financial freedom is not just a lazy affair, something you cross your legs and do. Is active. It's active learning and active doing. And what this implies is that since cash flow is at the root of all financial problems, then each of us has to do everything that we can, starting from learning about it, to become cash flow positive. If you are having serious financial struggle right now, I can predict 100% that is because you are cash flow negative. Cash flow negative is the root of all financial problems. All right, so we want to change it in the next couple of days while we're talking about cash flow. So, but for now, whatever happens, keep showing up, because you have no idea what's coming your way next. And I'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye for now.